Hi, I'm Eric Fish. I'm a founding elder for the Student Church family, which is a family of ministries that's working on universities around North America, mobilizing students to plant simple churches on university campuses. So what is a simple church? A simple church is a group of people who are following Jesus together in the places that students do life. It's not a building, it's not just a meeting, it's a group of people who are living out what it means to be the church on their campus together. We've seen student churches or simple churches start in college dormitories, residence halls, skull halls, apartment complexes, fraternities, sororities, Starbucks, student unions, any place that students do life together. And I believe that you as a student have more potential to make an impact on your campus for the gospel than any full-time minister on earth, because you are sent by God to represent Jesus on your university. A couple years ago, a group of us started planting churches on a Native American university called Haskell Indian Nations University. I'm going to tell you a quick story. One of these dorms was known, had a particularly dark reputation, and many times in the evening you could come in and hear drum beats and smell incense burning from students trying to cleanse the demons out of the room that were giving them nightmares. In one semester in this dormitory, one Native American student had impregnated 5 different women. It was a really dark place. Now the interesting thing is that you can walk into that residence hall and find lots of flyers up on the bulletin board in the dorm lobby inviting people to come to church. But you couldn't really find anybody who's willing to step foot into the darkness and represent Jesus and bring the church to where the darkness was. Well, one of the students who was in our network, he had been to one of our Student CPx trainings, which is a training we do in the summers all throughout America to equip students to plant simple churches on their campus. And he prayed and he felt God was putting this dorm on his heart. So he went in the dorm, started making friends. He went with a church planting partner or another disciple to go with him into that dorm. They started making friends, and they had a very simple idea. They printed out Jesus stories on a piece of paper, got a box of donuts and a jug of milk, and one night go in to meet with all the friends they made and said, "Hey, we're going to discuss Jesus stories tonight. Come sit down with us." Well, as a couple weeks went on, one night a Native American guy comes in, a guy from the football team. He's a traditional native-looking guy, lots of tattoos, and he's sitting there watching this group talk about Jesus stories. And he looks at him, and they invite him. They said, "Come sit down." He says, "Well, is this a God thing?" And they said, "Well, yeah, we're talking about Jesus and how He can change our lives and give us the power of the Holy Spirit, and He can use us to make a difference in the world. Please sit down with us." So the guy goes, "All right, I think I need something like this." And he sits down, and they start talking about Jesus, and they pray simple prayers for each other. And at the end of the time, he says, "Can I tell a story?" And they said, "Yeah." And he goes, "Well, in my family where I'm from, we don't do Christianity. Christianity is a bad word, because white man Christians came and they took our lands, and they broke up our family, and they lied to us, and they broke treaties, all in the name of Christianity. And so we don't do church, we don't do Jesus. But last night I had a dream. And in my dream, I was back with my tribe, and we were dancing around the fire in our native clothing. And suddenly I saw another person dancing in my tribe around the fire with us, worshiping the spirits, and I didn't recognize him. And as I stared at him, I realized that he was Satan, and he was mocking my people. But I was the only one who could see him. I woke up from my dream, scared to death, and I felt like God was sending me a message. I walked into the lobby, and I see you guys sitting here talking about God. The student church planner looks at him and says, "Can I interpret your dream?" He says, "Yes." She says, "God is sending you a message. He's called you to be a deliverer for your people, to rescue them from the oppression of Satan and deliver them from darkness into the kingdom of light. Have you heard about Jesus?" The student says, "No, I've never heard about Jesus. I've only heard of Christianity." You know, there's a lot of people on your campus who have only seen Christianity, but they haven't seen Jesus. Today in the United States of America, it's a travesty that the first people who lived on our lands are some of the least Christian. The life expectancy for a Native American male is 42 years old. The teen suicide rate is 5 times the national average. two ethnic groups that I believe the hand of God is on to raise up as pioneer leaders in the next great church planting and missions movement to come out of North America are Native Americans and African Americans. The least shall become the greatest, the last shall become the first in our nation. So this student looks at him and says, you've heard of Christianity, you haven't heard of Jesus. God sent Jesus to change the world. He was God's sacrifice. He came to restore our relationship with the Father, and explains in 30 seconds who Jesus is and why he comes. The guy looks, this Native American student looks at her and says, Jesus is doing things to restore the tribes of the world and the ethnicities into relationship with each other and with the Creator. I want to follow this Jesus. How can I do that? The guy prays right there. He gives his life to Jesus. Gets in a car a short time after this with 3 carloads of students, many of them who didn't know Jesus yet, goes to a local lake, gets baptized. The story of what happened to this guy becoming a follower of Jesus spread through that entire dorm and to the entire football team. All because a student was willing to say, yes, Jesus, I will go to represent the gospel in a place of darkness and start a simple church of people following Jesus right in the dorm room, right in the dorm. So this summer, there are going to be several Student CPx opportunities for you to be trained as a student leader to take the student church movement to your campus. And from the campus, wherever you go in the world, to the urban core, to the mission field, wherever you go, you can be an agent for change by preaching the gospel, making disciples, and forming them into simple church groups that follow Jesus together. We are going to be in Wilberforce, Ohio, at the first HBCU in the United States, on July 20th through 30th, doing a Student CPx specifically for African American leaders and those working on HBCUs in our country. I invite you to come join us at Student CPx, July 20th in Wilberforce, Ohio. You can find information and register at studentcpx.org. That's studentcpx.org. Let's change the world for Jesus. Thank you.